Hey folks, welcome back to Board Game Blender. I am your host, Zee Garcia. Welcome. And today we are going to be taking a look at all sorts of ghosts and beasties and baddies and freaky things that have tentacles for mouths and freak you out in the night. They go bump. So, we are going to be taking a look at some games that you can play solitaire, which is very interesting. We're going to be taking a look at games that bring out the monster in you, if you would. And we are going to be taking a look at games that not anybody seems to be talking about. Well, all sorts of good things. Thank you for joining us again, and I will see you in a little bit. But for now, let's get to some contributors. Enjoy the show, guys. See ya.
Hi everybody! Okay, I have to admit, I was a little stumped when I heard this episode's theme was going to be about monsters. I mean, I don't dislike monsters, it's just not a theme I really connect with. Cthulhu? It's okay. Kaiju are kinda cool. Zombies? No. I hate zombies. I mean, I have some monster games in my collection, but surprisingly few. And then it came to me. I could talk to you all about Onirim. I mean, nightmares are scary, right? And when your nightmare is personified as a shadowy demon that haunts your every card draw, well, that's pretty monstrous to me. And really, when I first talked to Zee about doing Blender, I wanted to try to highlight solo games or games with solo variants because it's a game type that deserves more coverage and it's something I really relate with. After all, part of the reason why I do the app segment for Board Game Breakfast is because I don't get a lot of game time with friends. So apps and solo games come to my rescue. Okay, so back to the monsters. In Onirim, you're a dreamwalker trying to find 8 oniric doors using sets of location cards or, if you're lucky, a key of a matching color. If you find all 8 doors before your deck depletes, you win. But this is a dream world that has nightmares trying to thwart you. You can fight them off by losing a valuable key or door, or by discarding cards from your hand or draw pile. Both options stink because cards are your resources and your game timer. Onirim is the simplest of games to set up and play. Shuffle and draw 5 cards. You can play or discard a card from your hand, and if you discard a key, you can look through the top cards of your deck and rearrange them. If you play, you simply create a lineup of cards in front of you. The big rule is you cannot play 2 cards in a row that share a symbol. If you play 3 cards in a row of the same color, you've found a door, and you can go through your deck and pull a matching door card out. Like I said, simple. But there are small choices that become increasingly tense that make Onirim a great solo play experience. Sure, you can use a key to rearrange your deck, but that key is so valuable as a way to find doors or fight off a nightmare. Is it worth it? And when a nightmare comes up, do you ditch your hand or risk losing much-needed cards from the top of your deck? These are impactful choices that add a lovely layer of stress to a simple solitaire game. But if the base game feels like it's missing something, the gorgeous current edition of Onirim has you covered. It includes 7 mini expansions that add complexity and difficulty to the game. I'm going to highlight just 3 of my favorites, but they're all interesting, and experimenting with mixing and matching them is another way Onirim really extends its gameplay. The Book of Steps Lost and Found adds a nice bit of complexity by randomly assigning a specific order in which you must find the doors. To aid you in this, you get 3 spells you can buy with discarded cards that allow you to rearrange your deck, the order of the goals, and even fight off a nightmare. I rarely play without this expansion. Crossroads and Dead Ends add 6 cards that are basically wild cards for color. But you also get Dead End cards, which will bog down your hand and force you to consider discarding your full hand more often. And Happy Dreams and Dark Premonitions adds the Happy Dream cards to the deck. Yay! Which is a good thing because you also have to deal with dark premonitions, which, when triggered, cause bad things to happen, like discarding keys from the deck or losing found doors to limbo. Using your Happy Dream cards and working on the choices the dark premonitions force really amps up the tension in the game. For such a cute little totem, this little nightmare is going to haunt your games of Onirim. It may not seem like your standard kind of monster game, but I promise, when you draw these from the deck, you're going to freak out. See you next time.
Hey friends of Blend, this week on Board Game Blender we're talking about monsters and ghosts and all that good stuff in board games. One of the most used themes in board games these days is the Cthulhu mythos. But it seems like everyone focuses on Cthulhu himself and he gets all the love. What about all the minions that come along with those games? You know, you've got your cultists and your maniacs and stuff like that, but really these are just humans that have been driven crazy by the power that is Cthulhu. What about the other minions? They're really way more terrifying than any human that just is trying to follow and wake up Cthulhu could possibly be. For instance, one is a Migo. And you can see he's got this guy here, he's taking his brain out, he's got these wings. Those wings actually let him fly through outer space, and they take people's brains out and stick them in what's called a brain cylinder, which I know is very, very creative and unique. But they stick them in this brain cylinder, and they can fly through outer space with those wings, which, by the way, don't work very well on Earth, and fly out to Pluto, where they've got an outpost where they, I guess, do scientific experiments and stuff. And then they can fly even farther out in outer space and go to their home planet, all that kind of stuff. But they have this alien code of morals. They're not amoral, but their code of morals is so alien that it seems like they are highly, highly malicious to humans because they don't think anything of doing all kinds of surgical or scientific experiments on humans. Or what about the Hound of Tindalos, which is this guy right here? Look at that. He's got that tongue right there. You can see that that tongue is actually, it's hollow, and he uses that, he'll, you know, the same way a vampire might drink blood from a human, except he'll stick that tongue, you know, into you and pull out all your bodily fluids. And nobody really knows what a Hound of Tindalos actually looks like because generally any witnesses are killed almost immediately. And these guys, actually developed from what's called the angles of time, where apparently most human life and other life on Earth developed from the curves. So the angles of time is where they come from, which means that any room that's got a corner of 120 degrees or less, they can just appear out of that corner. And they travel through time to hunt down their victims as well. And if a human travels through time, they're basically asking for a hound to hunt them down. Out of all the Cthulhu games there are, my favorite is Mansions of Madness. Now, I will admit I have not played many of them, but Mansions of Madness I love because you actually take control of the bad guys themselves, these minions, and basically you are Cthulhu or what have you. One of the things in Mansions of Madness that you really got to think about is while you've got all these monsters, if the keeper plays optimally and uses all his powers that he's given in the game to the best of his ability, chances are he can probably crush the investigators easily every turn. Or every game, I should say. It's really going to be more about improving the play experience for everybody, keeping the game close, and having the best story develop from this game because it's such a story-enriched and story-intense game. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what your favorite Cthulhu game is. If I messed up any other small world rules during this video, please let me know in the comments section below as well. And look me up on my own channel. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.
Hey everybody, for today's Under the Radar segment, we are going to be taking a look at a little itty bitty card game called Nosferatu. The one I have here is actually a French version of the game, but the game did just recently come out in English. From Eagle Griffin Games. This has English in it as well, but it came out in the US from Eagle Griffin Games. And it's one of those games in the genre that's very popular right now, which is a social deduction game. In the game, and I will not be teaching you everything really about the game, I'm just going to give you a very simple overview because the game actually has a lot of little rules and corner cases and such, so I won't bother with that too much. But basically, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to get one of these cards, and most of them are going to be these characters here, and one of them is going to be that gentleman right there, Nosferatu, and one person is going to be Renfield. And Renfield actually plays openly. We know who they are right at the beginning of the game. When they get their card, we will know who they are. They will know who the vampire is. And the game is played over several rounds in which the vampire and Renfield together are trying to hide the vampire's identity, are trying to give wounds to the other players, bite from this deck of cards here like such, while all the other players are attempting to reveal who the vampire is, eliminate possibilities, that sort of thing. The game has a very interesting mechanism in which these cards are used, which is used to basically limit how many players can play. Someone's going to start the round, and this deck of cards is shuffled up and put on the table. Everybody on their turn is going to flip one of these cards, and if it's a moon, then the night continues. The next player will also play a card to the center of the table face down. But we'll keep going here. Let's see. No, it's fine. Wow, I really put this at the bottom. Boom, there was one more left. This is daytime. When you hit this one, which could be very early, it's a random shuffle up of the deck, right? Then no one else plays, and we reveal the cards in the center. That can be really scary because sometimes that Nosferatu player has to push their luck and go, yeah, I'm going to throw a bite in and just hope that this night doesn't end right after me because only 2 players have gone. And that really clears a lot of people, possibly, right? Sometimes you have to play a bite because you don't have anything else. It could happen, but it's going to put a lot of suspicion on those people. The game is definitely not revolutionary by any means. I don't think it's certainly not the best game in this genre of games, of which there's been many lately, right? With the Resistance and all of the werewolf variants with One Night and regular werewolf. And, well, there's so many. But I do think it's an original one. It's a different one. It has its own vibe. It has its own feel. And I do like this theme quite a bit. Yet no one is playing it. I haven't heard anybody mention it. I think it deserves a little more attention than it's getting because it is a nice, portable game. It has a good feel to it. It plays a nice crowd. And it can bring something new to the table, and I like that. So, if you've not heard of it, hopefully now you've seen what it's like, and maybe I've piqued your interest a little bit. So, go ahead and check it out. I think it's worthwhile some attention. Nosferatu. See ya. Boop, 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 boop. This is so tiny I can't do that.
Hello folks, welcome to Corner Chat. I'm Mark, and today we have with us Grant Wilson and Mike Richie from Rather Dashing Games. And however, you may know Grant from Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters.
Correct, yes.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you
Thanks
here.
for having us here.
Yeah, you bet. So, we're at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. So that makes the theme of this episode even better because it's about ghosts, baddies, and monsters. So, so since we're at the Stanley, Grant, tell us a little bit about some of your experiences here.
Well, this is actually my 18th trip to the Stanley.
That's insane.
I've been here a few times. And as you know, this is what inspired The Shining.
Right.
So there's a lot going on here. Every time I've been here, there's been activity. We've had things like a table jump, smack back down. We had a chair flip, faucets turning on and off, children running down the hallways, lots of tables and chairs moving in the concert hall.
Really?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Haven't seen any twins walking
No
around.
twins walking around? No red rum?
But last year they did have a charity event, and Mike and I rode big tricycles through an obstacle
Oh,
course.
that's awesome.
And we won, so yeah.
At 9,000 feet.
At 9,000 feet. Yeah, that's
Not easy.
definitely cool. Okay, so because you were part of Ghost Hunters,
Mhm.
has that played into, for Rather Dashing Games, has that played into themes and the way you're heading towards with all your games?
Well, you know what? You'd think that all our games would be paranormal themed, but
Right.
Mike and I have known each other since we were kids. I was 5, he was 4.
Uh-huh.
And we just love geekdom and creativity. And, our first love is fantasy when it comes to that. But,
Right.
but yes, we love the paranormal games. We love the creepy,
Yeah.
fantasy flight, Cthulhu games and all
Right,
these.
right.
And, but, we're targeting a different audience.
Okay.
So our next product is actually paranormal themed.
Yeah.
Lightly paranormal themed.
And it's in a line of games, right, that you have, remind me what the name is for the line of games?
Yeah, the line of games is called the Drawn and Quartered
Drawn and
series.
Quartered series, yes. Very cool. And this is the second one, right? It's graveyards, ghosts, and haunted houses.
You got it. The first one was Pirates, Ninjas, Robots, and Zombies.
Okay.
and it's very easy to learn, very hard to win. This second one takes it up a notch.
Nice.
It's literally another layer of strategy, things you can use to lock the tiles.
Very cool.
You know, you have a haunted house that you can put down, and if your ghost is peeking through the windows.
Oh, really? So you have tiles behind the windows? Oh, that's so
tiles
cool.
with cutout windows.
Oh,
for the
very
houses.
cool.
Yeah, it's very
And
cool.
they're paranormal investigators that run around because you play as the ghost,
Right.
trying to dominate the graveyard.
Oh, very
And
cool.
paranormal investigators take away points. Scared teens or the
very
meddling
nice.
kids.
Yep, meddling kid.
Meddling kids. You have a dog running around.
That'll be an expansion.
That's awesome.
But that's kind of our first foray into it. And there were some things we had to get out of the way before we could do that.
Gotcha.
But we have some other ones planned, everything from one that takes place in a spooky Eastern European village.
Oh, okay.
To
So several
investigate.
expansions you're thinking about
Oh,
already.
just different games.
Different games.
Yep,
Oh, okay.
different ideas. The Drawn and Quartered series, each game is going to build on the tactics and abilities
Of the
the
previous.
play style of the previous ones.
Okay.
And so they're going to be themed all across the board. You know, haunted, archaeological, a classic dungeon crawl space, you name it.
Very cool.
Mhm.
So when's the target release for that then?
This is we have it planned for Origins.
Ah,
We'd
okay.
like to premiere it there,
Yeah.
but you never know how things go.
Yeah,
See how the port strikes. and
Port
all that.
strikes.
There's been a lot of things that have affected the game industry lately, and they've affected us just like everyone else. But we're hoping for Origins.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so in the same theme, right, with ghosts and baddies and monsters, what are some of your favorite games with these themes?
Oh my goodness.
Betrayal, House and Haunted Hill.
Oh,
yeah,
Love that game.
definitely.
Love that one. We get a little Midnight Syndicate playing,
Right,
play
right.
that, and
Mhm.
spooky music, and I love playing Descent. We play Descent, and I
Oh,
play
yeah.
as
Love Descent.
you're the overseer there.
Yeah.
and
You have
I
the
play
first
Good
edition
Guys.
and second? Have you?
I have second edition. I don't have
Okay.
first edition.
Yep.
But and then my wife and I get into Mansions of Madness
Oh,
and Arkham
nice.
Horror, and again
Yep.
we dim the lights, and
Yep.
we've even played Betrayal at House on the Hill by lantern.
But,
light.
see,
In the
I would love to do that.
In the middle of the woods, in the mountains, in New Hampshire, at night with nothing but oil lamps.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, it's very
Like
great play.
outdoors?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, we're like miles from the nearest town.
That's too cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
It's
Okay,
fun
so
to be the bad guy.
yeah, no doubt, right? Yeah, I'm with you. So, tell folks where they can find out more about Rather Dashing Games.
Okay.
And what's up next for you guys as well.
Okay.
Well, our website, ratherdashinggames.com,
Mhm.
is the best place to get in touch with us. We have our Facebook page,
Mhm.
which is
It's facebook.com/Sir Barnaby,
Mhm.
Sir _Barnaby.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we have Twitter. Honestly, you go to ratherdashinggames.com. It's all
It's
there.
all there.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything is
Yep.
everything's available.
Yep. And either one of us or our good friend Jessica will
Oh,
interact with you, and it'll be good. Yeah.
So, what's up next beyond Haunted?
Too many things.
Yeah,
Too many
we're-
things?
Yeah.
We're juggling quite a few game projects right now. The one we'd like to have out late in the third quarter this year is called Hafid,
Okay.
and it is a ancient world, Middle Eastern trading game.
Oh, okay.
Caravans and all
Very
that kind
cool.
of stuff.
But it's true to our mission statement as a
Right.
company. It's very approachable. Like a lot of those games, hey, you like to play Monopoly? Come
Yeah.
try this.
Come try
People
this
go, oh,
instead.
no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a lot more approachable. Yeah.
Very cool.
And then we're working on another project that won't be out at least till mid-time next year. It's a put all the three pieces together. It is a cooperative deck building dungeon crawl.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Whoa.
So folks can find you at Origins, Gen Con?
Yep.
Or anywhere else?
Right now, or for the rest of the year, Origins, Gen Con, and we pop up here and there in little
Okay.
Yeah.
places.
I mean,
yeah.
we've got some other shows, but they're mostly trade shows, like industry
Yeah,
shows, not
right.
for the end user.
Very cool. All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the show. Really good.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us as well. And until next time,
We'll see you at the table.
Hey folks, welcome back to another segment of Real Talk with Sam. This week on the Blender we are tackling the subject of bad guys, monsters, and bad people in games. While I understand that there are going to be different opinions, different ideologies, different philosophies about what constitutes a bad guy, whether or not one should play the bad guy or have to play the bad guy, I think we all can agree that these are just games. Some of them take themselves a little bit more seriously than others, but at the end of the day, these are just games, and so we do have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. Sometimes people have to play the bad guy in games. At the risk of becoming too philosophical, I think we do need to understand that there are going to be differing definitions on what constitutes being a bad guy. Again, I'm not trying to reach a conclusion so that everybody can say, okay, now that Sam has said so, now we know what's good and now we know what's bad. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to simply entertain the thought here that we do need to think about what the other person or the other people in the game are thinking about the theme of the game and whether or not they're going to be sitting comfortable with it. For example, like Firefly. If we take, and now if we're honest with ourselves, we have to understand, you know, how we sympathize with them or not. Mal and the rest of the people on the Firefly, they're the bad guys. They're the pirates. They're the people that are breaking the law. Well, are they really the bad guy? The government is so oppressive and these are the good guys. Well, again, that's kind of a twist. It's been romanticized so much to where everybody's okay with it. And then there's this little gem where you're all taking the role of different gangsters. This is one of the games where everybody's the bad guy. Everybody's backstabbing everybody else. Everybody's trying to, blackmail everybody else, and everybody's trying to whack somebody else. It's been romanticized down to the point where, I mean, even the artwork is very cartoony. It's very lighthearted. There are games where you are cooperatively good guys playing against the bad guys, and one of those games is Run, Fight, or Die, where each person is a survivor, and you're actually trying to run through town finding other survivors and getting them to the truck or the helicopter or whatever it might be that's going to help you escape. This is one of the games where there are definitely bad elements, bad guys in there, but the players aren't any of them. And continuing on in that little zombie genre is a game called Last Night on Earth. Depending on the number of players, some people can be the zombies, can actually control the zombies, and they are the bad guys. And we'll actually have a deck of cards that will help them be the bad guys. Then there are certain kinds of games that are based upon histories or certain periods within history where one side is the good guys and the other side is at least definitely considered the bad guys. And while I understand that not everybody in the German army held the belief systems of the Nazi Party, historically speaking, the German army in World War II was the bad guys, or were the bad guys. First of all, why would you want to simulate war? War is such an atrocity, and why would you ever want to subject someone to having to play the Nazis in a game? There are a lot of strong feelings about this, and I'm not going to discuss or argue with any of those feelings. I'm just simply stating that that's a fact. I think part of your responsibility as the person running the game or the person bringing games to a game night is to take into account the other people that are going to be there. Not that they should hold you hostage, don't get me wrong. But I think there is a level of you need to think about the other people that are going to be at game night or the other people that you're having over to your house or whatever the situation might be. Let that help you determine what kind of games you're going to have hit the table that night or during that event. So that's been my segment for this week. Remember, people, I'm just trying to keep it real.
Hi everyone, I'm Justin from Grizzly Gaming, and this is Two Player Pals. Today we're going to take a look at some of my favorite monster-themed games that have come out in the last few years, or just as recently as this past week. Now the first game I want to talk to you about is actually out of print, so if you can find a copy of it, I highly recommend you do so, because it is a great game to have in your collection. Now the game in question is Tannhauser. Now Tannhauser is a tactical miniatures game in which you will be employing the services of different monsters and demons, hellspawn, and troops from different countries to help you defend or attack against your opponent, depending on the situation the game situation you're playing. So whether it is a tower defense or a capture the flag or king of the hill style game, or even just taking objective points or duking it out with your opponent, there is a whole myriad of different styles of playing this game. And what really helps this game shine for me, besides all of that, is the fact that you can put in your own character creations and stat blocks and items that they'll have and special abilities that they can have and all these different types of monsters you can have will really shine and make the game better because the theme will pull through the mechanics, and that's something that very few games can actually do and say, which is having the mechanics propel the game forward. So whereas a lot of times the mechanics will make the game more complex, and so the theme has to be as enriching as the game itself, a lot of times those types of games aren't as fun themed. But in this type of game where the theme itself is coming more from the mechanics moving away and you enjoying the theme more, it's something I really enjoy, and that's what I really appreciate at Tannhauser. Now the other game I want to take a quick look at is Spectre Ops. Now Spectre Ops just came out in the last week or two if you happen to pre-order the game, and if you don't have a copy of it yet, I highly recommend you do so. It is a great two-player game. But what makes this game really shine for me and my collection and for my enjoyment of it as a two-player game is the fact that there is so much tension in this game. It is unbelievably ridiculous how much tension. I cannot play this game without 1 second passing where I am paranoid or I'm overthinking things or I am double backing on what I was initially thinking, or a whole slew of different ideas are coming and running through my head, and there are so many different emotions that I am just loving every second of it. Very few games allow the mechanics and the theme to come through as beautifully as Spectre Ops does, and I'm grateful that that Plaid Hat Games, who also did Dead of Winter, did such a great job with this. Now, what also makes Spectre Ops a great game is the fact that the two-player variant makes it more difficult for the agent, and it's something that's sort of a balancing act between the agents and the hunters. So because the hunters, there will be two characters that one player will have as the hunter team, there's no table talk, so it makes it difficult for the agent to track down where the hunters are going to go and what they're going to do. So that's just my take on some of my favorite monster-themed games. If you enjoy the show or you have any questions or comments for me, you can find me on BoardGameGeek.com under the username Grizzly Archer. Take care and happy gaming. Bye.
When I think of monsters, I think of the classics. I think of Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Mummy, Dracula. There's a really good designer who designed games based on this for Games Workshop back in the day. His name is Stephen Hand. Two of his games in particular have the theme of monsters. One of them is called Curse of the Mummy, and that one has this really cool 3D board where you're moving around, you're trying to find things in a pyramid, you're trying to escape from the mummy's tomb but get some treasure. It's a very old game, but it's a very cool game. His other game, which I know everyone talks about and is one of my favorite games, is called Fury of Dracula. Now this game takes your standard hunt where one person is Dracula and they're secretly moving around the board, and then you have Van Helsing and all the other Dracula hunters, and they're all trying to chase down Dracula and find him and find where he is and use a stake and put the stake through his heart and kill Dracula before he can get back to Castle Dracula and escape. It is a very good game. I know right now it's out of print, but we're hoping, like everyone else, that one day this amazing gem of a game will come back into print, as it's been printed in two different editions, both the Game Workshop one as well as the Fantasy Flight edition, and I'd love to see it back in print because it's one of my favorites. So if you're looking for good monsters or a good game that involves monsters, look to Stephen Hand. He's done Curse of the Mummy, he's done the Fury of Dracula, and you'll find a very good game if you look at his designs.
Hey everybody, the quirky game of the episode is going to be Beastie Bar, which I've spoken about before. Beastie Bar is a game about getting into a bar, so it must be a game for adults, right? But all the characters are animals, so it must be a game for kids, right? Except the animals look a little tough. Some of them are clearly heavy drinkers. This guy, for instance, just got out of jail. So, who is this game for? Well, I'm not sure, but I would say if I had to guess that it's a game for me because I really like this one. This is a great game in which you are using your deck of cards of animals to get into a bar, and the more characters you get in there, the better you do, except all these guys have some really shady behavior when it comes to standing in a line. I mean, you'd think they would have figured this out when they can do things such as work a megaphone, for instance. That's pretty complicated. Or how about this lady? I mean, she put that lipstick on all by herself. But as far as standing in a line and not trampling each other and eating each other and whatever this guy's doing, well, they just can't figure that part out. But the game is really quite straightforward. Each animal has a power, and they are going to, when you play them on the table, use that power. Very cool. I really like the interaction that this game brings to the table. I think it's a brilliantly made little filler. It's colorful, it's interesting, the theme is really bizarre, and the animals have that really strange anthropomorphic look to them, but I think they look great. I really like the look of this game. I like the vibe. I like that the game is really quite quick. I think it makes for an excellent filler. For me, it's similar to a game like Guillotine, which you might be aware of, but I think this is a better game than that game because it's faster, it's a little cleaner, and I really love the interaction in this one a little more than I like it in a game like Guillotine. And so I would highly recommend this one if you can find it. Now, I realize this is a little hard to find at the moment, but from what I've heard, Zee Games is going to be publishing some of their own games here in the US, if you happen to be watching this in the US. So, keep an eye out for that, because hopefully this will be a little bit easier to find shortly. And even though it's a little bit of a strange game, I really think it deserves some wider attention. So check out this quirky little beast, Beastie Bar.
Hey guys, Tiff here, and this week's theme is Ghosts, Beasties, and Baddies. As I've mentioned before, my students absolutely love any game with a monster character in it. Kaiju, Cthulhu, dragons, you name it, they are 100% into that. Especially if they get to play as the monster. And I can think of no better example of such a game than Rampage, or Terror in Meeple City as it's called now. Let's have a look. Terror in Meeple City from designers Antoine Bauza and Ludovic Montblanc is a dexterity game of the highest order. In the game you'll be smashing buildings, tossing vehicles, eating people, and all of the disastrous things monsters love to do. You start off with a monster piece and a shield with 6 teeth, 4 of which are removable. The more teeth you have, the more meeples you can eat after you destroy a neighborhood. You will also have a character card and 2 powers. These give you special abilities and new ways to score points. The town is set up with various 3-story buildings made out of thick tiles and meeples that represent the 6 different types of citizens. Green are soldiers, yellow are blondes, blue are journalists, red are heroes, gray are old folk, and black are businessmen. Every set of 6 citizens a monster eats is worth 10 points at the end of the game. How do you eat citizens? By wreaking havoc on the town, of course. Every turn you will get 2 actions. You can move your monster by flicking its foot disc, and if that disc ends up next to a building, you can attempt to demolish it by dropping your monster on top of it. You can also destroy buildings by flicking vehicles at them, or even placing your chin on your monster and blowing them down. Naturally, in the midst of all of the devastation, 1 or 2 meeples are bound to flee off of the board. These are placed on a special runaway board that will penalize the active player when a row is filled, and can even end the game. There are 2 different runaway boards, adding to replayability. Once the last floor is knocked off of the last building, you count up the sets of meeples in your monster's belly and gain the corresponding points. You will also get points if you collected any building floors or knocked out any of your opponent monster's teeth. Ultimately, the monster who causes the most destruction wins. Okay, I have to come clean and admit that I haven't yet played Terror in Meeple City with my board game club. The setup time, coupled with my students' propensity for misplacing pieces, has kept it off of our table so far. But I have played this game with children on multiple occasions, and it's always been a huge hit. In fact, this is a game I would say is made way better with younger players. Maybe it's the toy factor, maybe it's the over-the-top theme, but the sheer enjoyment that kids get out of monstrous destruction is unequaled in their adult counterparts. Luckily, that excitement is contagious. So grab a copy, grab your kids, and you'll see what I mean. See you back next time.
Sometimes when you're playing a good board game, you would swear that beings from another planet have descended upon this earth and have replaced your friends with creatures from beyond. Well, on today's Board Games Meet ... we're taking a look at the beast within. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to see your friends possessed by a demon with Tourette's, well, I recommend you play Tapple, because you only have a few seconds to come up with an answer, and if you don't... Oh, you... I don't even like fruit roll-ups! How about a game that takes you from Pretty Pretty Princess to Godzilla in the shortest amount of time possible? Well, in that case, the game for you, my friend, is Bling Bling Gemstone. It's a stunning looking game with gems and beautiful bits, and just tap it ever so gently and then you just... This game is so cute! And a little hammer too! How about you want to know what it's like to feel as a ghost trapped behind a mirror or some such thing, and you cannot communicate with the world outside? In that case, Hanabi is the game for you! In this one, you're gonna be twitching like a rat who just spotted some brie in your fridge when you cannot tell your friends that they're about to discard that juicy 5. Don't do that, you idiot. Not that. Not that card! We need that card! You know that scene in every movie where the baddie should be dead. There's no reason for him to still be coming. Really, honestly, he's won at this point. But he just cannot seem to stop. If you want to see what that's like, I recommend you find Tom Vassell at a convention and ask him to play Can't Stop. 'Cause he can't stop, and he won't stop. He'll be rolling dice all day and night, letting that luck fly like it's a kite. Ba-ba-bee-ba-boom. So hopefully that has given you an idea of some games you might want to check out, or maybe avoid. It depends on who your friends are, or even who you are. Don't forget though, at the end of the day, friends are replaceable, but games are forever.
Whew! Now that I'm my normal self again, welcome to Retro Board Game Corner. Ghosts, Beasties, and Baddies. Who doesn't like to fight a horde of monsters while they're playing a board game? I got the perfect one for you here. It is Dark World, published in 1992 by Mattel. Yes, I said Mattel, the maker of Barbie. In this 2 to 5 player board game, you are the last hope to try to save your world from becoming a dark world. In this game, you'll be fighting orcs, ogres, skeletons, mummies, the Haunter, the Manticore, and the boss of the game, Korak. So this is what the game would look like set up. It takes a little bit of time to set it up, but let me tell you, it is worth it because it looks really great. Okay, so one person will play Korak and control every monster on the game board, and the other players will take control of one of the 4 player pawns. They are the Knight, the Barbarian, the Dwarf, and the Ranger. This is the Mace of Chaos, and it will determine turn order every turn. What you do is just tip it upside down, give it a couple shakes, and then that will determine the turn order for that turn. So the object of the game is to get your piece all the way through every room to up here so you can battle Korak. Every turn you will get 3 actions. The actions are you can either move or you can battle a monster. To move, you just move 1 square and open the door, get inside the room, and then Korak will put an amount of monsters down on the board and you will have to fight them or wait till your next turn to fight them. To attack a monster, you will need to roll the dice, and every monster has a printed number on the bottom of their base. You need to roll that number or higher to defeat the monster on 2 dice because you start with a standard weapon. If you defeat the monster, he will go into your pile and they are worth bonus points at the end of the game. There are 2 secret doors in this game, right here, that revolve like this. You need to roll a certain number to pass through each door, which will cut your time in half. Now there are 4 treasure chests located throughout the castle, and each one of them will contain a golden weapon. The golden weapon will allow you to roll 3 dice when you attack monsters instead of 2. Once you have made it through the board, you will end up here to battle Korak. He might beat you, or you might beat him. If he wins, game is over for everybody. But if you defeat him, person with the highest points is the ultimate winner of the game. And that was just a brief overview on how you play this game. Man, let me tell you, I really love this game a lot. If there's a night to fight monsters, this is one that I would pull out almost every time. It's just a great game, really easy to learn, to teach people, and just provides loads of fun. Well, join me next time when I showcase another great game from the past. May your rolls be high.
Alright, so there you have it. That is our episode. Thank you again for joining us. A big thank you to all my contributors who are excellent as always. And I hope to catch you again in a couple of weeks when we're going to be talking gaming on the go. Games you can carry with you, games that are ideal to play at conventions, all sorts of good stuff like that, alright? So, please come back and join us for that. And until then, I'll see you. And as always, stay a friend of the blend.